Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode, part 12 of What If Naruto Was Put Through Hell, and enjoy that guys over on Anime King 2. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And also guys, stay in tune for a brand new episode coming over on Anime King. And enjoy guys. And yes, if you're new, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what fun every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last part we left off, Team 7 was facing off against Shisui, as he told them to come at him with the intent to kill or they will not get the belts. As Naruto thought about it, it made absolutely no sense. Seisumi came to him as he came up with the idea, so did she. So the 3 of them attacked him as one straight unit, as Shisui was surprised as they managed to capture him in an ice dome, as it was created by Naruto, as the others used their fireballs to trap Shisui, while Naruto told him to give up R, as he released steam from his mouth, acidic steam that was strong enough to melt the surrounding rocks, as Shisui used a massive water-style jutsu to blow them away. But Naruto attacked right into him, as the water turned into ice, as ice particles formed everywhere, trying to entrap Shisui. But Naruto had the belts in his hand. Throughout all of this, Shisui was enjoying the battle between them, as he wasn't even focused on belts anymore, as they used that to take his mind off them while Naruto had retrieved them. As Naruto and the others had already seen through the test. After all, he wanted to work as a team and see if they were going to work against each other or work to help each other, as Shisui was proud. Yamato had passed his team a little moments earlier. Sakura had ended up gotten a broken nose from Mito. The girl didn't eat anything last night, so she was a bit whooping because she was watching her figure before Sasuke, something that really angered Mito. She showed her that if she did not train, she would get hurt out there in the field as she brought her home. As Kushina was a bit angry at Mito for doing that, telling her never to do it again, as Mito apologized. But it seemed like it was going to help in the long run, as Nade took a keen interest in soccer. Just like the many other girls, she should join up for the healing program. Not to mention, she could defend herself because the first things Made need to learn how to do was dodge. So for the next couple of months, Sakura went through hell, broken bones that were being mended together by Snavy, and then broken once again, over and over. Yes, it was really terrible, but it helped the girl got stronger. Team 7 and 6 were competing, yes, in their D-rank missions, as Team 7 was currently winning, but Team 6 was not far behind, as they were competing over and over. As Team 6 was the first to get a C-rank mission though, as he had completed more than enough, while Team 7 was focused on D-ranks. But the mission escalated to something that they didn't expect. So Team 7 was sent to back them up. And also, Shisui was ordered to take out Gato. The Fire Lord had warned Gato to not interfere, as the man was the magnate of a shipping company, as he was the underground drug dealer. But now he was passing out weapons and selling drugs in the Fire Nations, something the Fire Lord could not commend. So he gave Konoha the mission to take care of the man, and Shisui was the one tasked to do that. Kushina was once again pregnant, as it was still early, couple of months, 1.5 or 2 coming up. She wanted to start back her shinobi career, but it didn't seem like fate wanted her to do that. But Snady was there for her as well, as everything was gonna be just fine, but she was still worried about her kids out there in their first secret mission. She hoped everything go alright. Meanwhile, as Gato was pissed off, Zabuza was out of the fray right now. He was currently beaten. He would heal, but still, he heard that another team was coming. As they were spotted, Shisui, the teleporter, a very dangerous Uchiha. So he had to hire another group to help him, the Akatsuki. Their price was ridiculous, but their ratings were top notch, so he had to hire them. He had to get rid of the bridge builder no matter what. So yeah guys, was basically that's where I left off. You guys can switch across the place, check out for yourself. So what do you say begin this new episode? Kushina didn't know what was wrong with her. At the moment, she shouldn't be feeling stressed. That was bad for the baby as she looked towards her stomach. This was both unexpected and a blessing. After all, she never thought that she'd be having any more kids. But they will just be growing their family, something that she really felt happy about. As they will have a little sister or brother. And that little sister or brother will call them big brother and big sister. She couldn't wait. But she was worried about her other kids out there on their first C-rank mission. Her motherly instinct wouldn't allow her to rest even though, well, she wasn't that much showing yet, so she could still move around. She figured a nice conversation would clear her head. That is why she found herself at the Uchiha compound. "Ah, Kushina," said Mikoto with a smile, as her friend invited her inside. Meanwhile, Gato was sitting at his desk. The man was pissed off. He has been waiting on his lackeys to tell him that the Akatsuki members were here, so he can go and speak to them. He never told any of his hired goons, well, his lower thugs, they wouldn't try anything, but the hired goons like Zabuza and the Akatsuki, he wouldn't tell them where he resides. After all, there was so much money, gold and drugs here. They would probably get greedy and slaughter him for it. And he wouldn't allow that to happen, so he would go and meet with them, but at this point, they still haven't arrived yet. Why the hell was he supposed to pay so much money for them? They were asking 3 times the amount for one of them. Yes, for one of them, that he pays Zabuza, and he was already paying Zabuza an incredible amount. Well, he paid him half, and he would pay him the next half once the mission was done. But they were asking 3 times the amount, and also they work in twos. They did not come as one. That pissed Gato off. But he needed them. Well, they were just hired guns. Puppets for him to use, and he would use them well. Still, he wasn't the one to suggest this. He had barely heard about the mercenary group, he heard about them, but he thought they were not anything really important. But one of his lackeys came to him and told him about the mercenary group, and how well defined they were, and that their mission record was completely clean. As he decided to look into it, and that lackey of his seems like he's trying to get a promotion or something, because he was the one that reached out to the Akatsuki. But Gato did not care, he just wanted him to get here and be done with it. As he picked himself up and landed on his short, stubby feet, it was then that he heard a scream. Gato paused, he looked towards the door. He heard an explosion as a man quickly hunkered down behind his desk and pressed the button for his guards to come inside. The door was blasted off the hinges as someone was thrown violently and crashed into the wall. As the man's head dropped right in front of Gato, Gato paused in fear. The desk was then smashed away. As Gato turned as he saw a man standing there, blue skin. He knew this man. After all, being the one to execute so many high political idols, he was quite infamous. Kisame, the monster of the mist. But you're a part of the Akatsuki? Gato said with a stutter. Kisame simply smirked, a toothy smirk. I hired you. Why are you doing this? I am going to pay you. I can pay you even double what you ask. Don't kill me, said Gato. As someone walked inside. Is it over yet? A voice said. A voice that sounded rather slippery. As Gato turned towards the other man, he froze. It felt like his heart was gonna jump out of his chest. Golden eyes narrowed towards him. The infamous Snake Sani, Orochimaru. As Gato froze, he did not know who he was gonna get, but he knew that he was an S-rank criminal. 2 of them, but he didn't expect these 2. You know you play too much, Kisame. What's the point of going straight for the kill if not having a bit of fun? Kisame said. That is why you and I will never get along. Well, we should. We are partners, Orochimaru said. As Kisame raised Samehata, please, no, said Gato. The man slammed the sword into Gato, slamming his head up against the wall, bursting his skull. Kisame walked back out in the hall where the hundreds of mercenaries stood. The hundreds of men that Gato had at his disposal. Well, your boss is dead, and if you want to be next, step up, Kisame said that smirked. We need them, Orochimaru said. they can be used as a great distraction. As he raised a simple eyebrow, a feeling of dread and fear let every man drop to their knees. As you can see, we're now in control, Orochimaru said. And it's either you do as we say, or death. That was the only way. Time skip. Both Orochimaru and Kisame had subdued the entire place, and had the man under their disposal, when a swirling vortex appeared in front of them. "They're finally here," Kisame said, as he looked towards the masked man. Orochimaru did not know who was under that mask. The only thing he knew was that he was a Uchiha, working directly under the leader of the Akatsuki, Gato. What Orochimaru did not know was, it was the other way around. Well, he would not know. On the other hand though, Kisame knew everything, as this masked man was the one that recruited him, a part of the Akatsuki. He was going by the name Tobi, not introducing himself to Orochimaru as Madara. It seems like he did not trust Orochimaru for some reasons. Well, Kisame didn't trust his snake either. Sometimes he got on his nerve, and sometimes he wished to shred him. "So, they're here," said Orochimaru. "Yes." What Shisui and Konoha, or no one else knew, was that this was all a ploy, crafted by Tobi. He was the one that used a genjutsu on Gato's man, to make the man bring up the topic of the Akatsuki. To make Gato tried to hire them, to make everything look smooth at first, like everything was going a part of Gato's plan. But this was just a trap, a trick. With Gato hiring them, he wouldn't focus on Zabuza, because he would think that you'd be getting two person that can fulfill the job better than Zabuza. And he wouldn't force Zabuza to go out there to intervene in something that he's not wanted into, that can ruin his plan. The next step was going after Shisui, the teleporter. The masked man knew full well about Shisui's eyes. Something that was valuable. Really valuable. The Kodomasugami, a genjutsu that can control someone's will, without even having to glance in their eyes. Something really interesting. The masked man smirked under his mask. "What have you learned about the young ones?" asked the masked man as he turned towards Orochimaru. "Well, my informant in Konoha has told me that Naruto, Senju, has shown eyes that resemble eyes from the past. The former leader of the Uzumaki clan that possessed eyes that could control every unique nature bloodline seemed to have awakened inside of him. Eyes that I would like to take for myself," Orochimaru said. The masked man said nothing as he looked towards Orochimaru. "I will be the one to personally check which one of them has the Bijou inside of them." That was the problem. None of them knew which one of them had the Bijou. The masked man did not know. He remembered that night. He had to flee before anything else could happen between him and Minato when the others arrived. So he did not know if it was his sister, the brother, or Naruto. "Kisame can do that as well. I don't see a reason for you to get those eyes," said the masked man. "Well, in turn it will help the organization. If I were to get those eyes, it will further strengthen the organization for us to go after other Bijous in the future," Orochimaru said. The plan for them to collect Bijous haven't started yet. For now, they were still working as a mercenary group, gathering money for the organization. After all, they had got a buttload of it in Gato's mansion, from money to gold, coins, weapons, drugs, a lot of it was there. "Do not attack until you find out, and report to me," the masked man said. As Orochimaru was pissed off, him, Asani, listening to this coward that chose to hide his face behind a mask, it really pissed him off. "Well, now that that is out of the way, shall we get down to it?" "Well, it's your job to bring the distraction," said the masked man. Meanwhile, at the house, the group had arrived to offer assistance. As Shisui went to talk to Yamato, "Of course we help," said Minma. This guy Zabuza didn't even know what hit him, but in the end he ended up escaping because of that partner of his. "I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but they have the same ability as you." "Which one?" said Naruto. "The ice one. The person was able to create a mirror to block Yamato's path and take Zabuza and run, because they were outgunned and outmatched. You know, not telling me about your first C-rank mission is a low blow," said Naruto. "Well, if we had completed the C-rank mission without you guys finding out, we would have been on top. said Menma as he smirked. Well, now that the both of us are participating, I don't think so, said Naruto. Would you guys quit it already? Said Mito as she walked over. I mean, who's on top and who is not? It doesn't really make a difference. I mean, we're both doing this mission. We need to focus and get ready. You're awfully serious, said Naruto. Yeah, you've been cautious more than lately, said Menma as he looked towards her. I don't know what it is, but I have this strange feeling that something bad's gonna happen. Something bad? Like what? Said Seisumi as she walked over. I'm not sure, said Mito. It's just a weird feeling. Well, I suppose it could be nothing. Now that all of us are here, we should be able to take care of Zabuza. And Gato as well. And finally free this small nation away from his tyranny. Can I count on you guys to help me do that? She said that smile. Of course, said Naruto. That's what we're here for. As she smiled, these people had suffered long enough. We need to help them. Yeah, and we will, said Minma as he placed a hand on her shoulder. As Naruto turned, he saw the two senseis over there talking. Meanwhile, so do you think he can hire anyone else like Shisui? I'm not sure, but given recent performance from Zabuza, he had an aide. So I don't think that he will go out of his way to hire anyone else. Zabuza had his pride. Perhaps he will tell the man that he will handle it. But if he finds out that I'm here, said Shisui, knowing that another team has come to back you up, he will go out of the way to hire someone else. Yeah, said Yamato. That is why I need to find him immediately, said Shisui. By yourself? Said Yamato. I'll just do a quick scouting around the area, Shisui said. And try to find anything I can. I'll try to track the last location of Zabuza. Are you sure? No. You stay here with the kids. I can handle this. And if I find Gato, I'll take him out. If I'm able to do that, we can stop all of this from happening. After all, without pay, missing names won't do anything for free. I guess you're right there, said Yamato. Alright then. Shisui walked over. Alright, listen up, he said. As all of them came over, I'm gonna go and scout the area. Wait, alone? Said Naruto. Yeah. Just for a quick bit. To try to find out anything out of the way. But Sensei, we could... No. You all stay here and watch over the house. It's just a little scouting mission, Shisui said. Our job is to protect Tazuna, so that he can complete the bridge. So I want you guys to stay here with Yamato and watch over the man. And his family as well, because they will eventually get wrapped up into this. If they can't get him, they will try to go after his family. Can I trust you guys to do that? He said, looking at the kids. Of course, said Naruto. We'll protect them, he said. As Shisui smiled at that. Alright, I'll be right back, he said. With that, he left. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, said Seisumi. After all, it's Shisui. What could happen, she said. Yeah, said Sasuke. You aren't giving the name Shisui of Teleporter for nothing. Yeah, said Naruto. But yet he had this nagging feeling like something bad was gonna happen. Meanwhile, as Shisui made his way, he was given the separate mission of taking care of Gato by the Hokage. Gato was a simple man, something that he could handle very well, so there was no need for him to bring the kids along to get them in any additional danger if he didn't have to. And besides, if he could find Zabuza now and take care of him, that would be great. But he didn't know if Gato would hire anyone else that would try to go back to the house. That is why Yamato had to stay behind to protect the kids, and also the bridge builder family. But it was like Naruto or the others were just gonna stay there and watch. They will also fight. He's trained them well in the past 2.5 months. Team 6 has also been in a competition with his team as well, so he knew they would be ready. So with that, Shisui made his way, not knowing what was gonna happen tonight, not knowing that this was gonna change everything. As Shisui arrived at the place that they fought, as there wasn't much tracks to go on, given that so much time had passed already. But he tried his best to try and find out anything, a twig, a broken, a shift of grass, something, as he followed the small movements. But when he arrived towards the empty, open field, there was nothing remaining. It seemed like the tracks just stopped here. Shisui Danger sensed his flare as he ducked. 2 snakes almost biting into his throat, passed over his head as Shisui flipped and landed on his feet. The man was surprised who he saw. Orochimaru of the Sannin. His Sharingan quickly flared to life. The 3 told him Sharingan. Orochimaru, S-rank criminal. In the name of Konoha, I hereby place you under arrest, said Shisui. Orochimaru chuckled. You and many others have tried this before. What makes you think that you'll be indifferent? Shizu wastes no time as he shot forward, pulling out his taunt towards Orochimaru, regurgitated the Kusanagi blade. The two swords clashed together as sparks flew everywhere. Senijashu Orochimaru said snakes burst from his Akatsuki robe, flying towards Shizu, who jumped back. Shizu severed the heads of all snakes before his body started to blur. Orochimaru looked around at all of the copies of Shizu that surrounded him as they rushed in, but suddenly someone landed in the center. With one swipe, all of the copies vanished. Kisame using Samehata to suck all the chakra out of the air around them. In a quick flash, Shizu appeared right in front of Orochimaru. The both of them locked gaze as Orochimaru cursed. As Orochimaru's body went limp, Shizu twisted the Tonto and turned, stopping the massive blade that came bearing down on him. The blade exploded out of the bandages as spikes emerged from it. One of them slashed at his hand as Samehata was pouring down on him. Samehata said Kisame as one of the spikes of the blade moved forward and sliced Orochimaru, seeping the chakra of the genjutsu out of the man. Orochimaru's eyes snapped and Shizu was sent sailing backwards as a kick firmly planted in his side. As he crashed towards the ground, he had to roll as Samehata smashed where his head once was. Kisame, missing enough Kiri, and Orochimaru, missing enough Konoha. This is an odd combination, Shizu said. What is your game here, he asked as he looked at the both of them. As Kisame simply smirked. We're after you, a voice said. But it was from neither of the two. Shizu turned as he sliced right through the mask that was behind him. But his Tonto went straight through it. A brutal kick slammed into his stomach once. His Tonto came out fully. Blood came from his mouth. Suddenly, Samehata slammed into his back, launching him forward. A massive snake burst from the ground. But Shizu wasn't an elite Uchiha for nothing as he twisted the blade and ripped right through the snake as he landed. He jumped out of the way, moving as hundreds of snakes burst from the ground, swords in their mouths. He wasted no time as these two were S rank. He knew that. He didn't know who the masked man was, but he couldn't afford to waste any time as he activated his Mangita Sharingan. The moment he landed, the masked man was gone as Kisame came jumping forward. Shizu ducked on the swipe as he turned and sliced right towards Kisame's stomach, but Samehata blocked it. Orochimaru came from behind the Kusanagi as Shizu pulled a kuna and blocked the Kusanagi, holding up two massive blades, the strength of the users. He had to flip and roll away. The moment he did, he vanished as he appeared behind Kisame, ready to slice through the man's back. But Kisame wasn't an S-rank criminal for nothing. As the man burst into water, Shizu did. Shizu jumped away as a massive water stream crushed down on the area, forcing him to stand on top of it. 5 sharks burst from the water as he leaped back. The man teleported with the sunshine around, moving in incredible speed as he sliced all the sharks as they pour back into the water. The moment he landed, a massive cobra shot out from the depths of the water, trying to swallow him. He twisted and stabbed his blade right into the cobra's eye, severing it down as the thing poofed away. He landed on the surface of the water as a vortex opened up beside him. Hundreds of exploding tags came out of it. His eyes widened as they went off, destroying the entire area as it was blown to smithereens. Shizu appeared completely unharmed as he landed, as he speed through hand sign, combination attack, fire and wind. Colossal dragon, he said, as he spewed out a massive dragon made from flames, but the wind just intensified. Meanwhile at the house, it happened so abruptly. One moment they were there, the next moment an explosion went off into the sky. It was from Yamato Wood clone who threw the explosive tag, as it was a warning. The next thing they knew, they were surrounded. Hundreds of thugs came. Kazuna and his family was rushed up to the farthest part of the house where the last room was, as Naruto created 10 clones, and so did Menma, to surround the area to stop anyone from getting past. As they stood outside, they were surrounded. The bandits wasted no time as they charged forward, not even caring about their own life, as they seemed to attack with a ferocity that bandits usually did not have. Half of them Half of them and more rushed towards Yamato. The man wasted no time as he went through hand sign. Wooden spikes came from the ground and impaled the bandits. As Naruto was surprised, it was just like last time when he saw that guy slit his own throat. The life leaving their eyes, he slapped himself across the face. He couldn't afford to get distracted. He had to focus as he looked towards Menma and Mito. The three of them beat their thumbs as they went through hand sign. Summoning jutsu, all three of them said. There was a poof. As three different animals stood there. There was a monkey right beside Menma, as he was large, twice the size of Menma it seems. He wasn't a normal monkey, he was an ape with giant fists. Kong, I need your help, said Menma. As the monkey known as Kong looked around, he simply nodded. As he clenched his fists, a bandit came towards him. He slammed his fist inside the man's face, throwing him backwards. Beside Naruto, there was a lion. As its fur was all blue, it had crystal blue eyes, and its tail seemed to be on fire. A blue flame lit in the end of it. Shira, said Naruto as it was a girl. Lion, I need your help. As you wish, Naruto-sama, she said. As she opened her mouth, as blue flames erupted from her throat, burning 10 bandits in front of her. Over to the other side, Mito was protected by a blue toad with green dots all over his body. Gamma-ten, I need your help, she said, as the toad was almost the size of the house. As the toad looked around as he unsheathed a small tonto. Well, it was large compared to them, but small compared to the toad, as he held it in a reverse grip. As you wish, Mito-sama, he said, as he charged into the fray as well. Now, the numbers got a bit more even, as the bandits were being pushed back, as Sakura was in the second stair of the house, standing there, as she was taking deep breaths. She wouldn't let anyone pass, she wouldn't let anyone get through her. If they get through them outside, she couldn't let them pass. As she remembered what Tsunade-sama taught her, she had learned far more better in medical ninjutsu because of her chakra and the most control that she had over it. So she had to be the one to protect them, and she could not get risks. She had to be the one to stay behind. As she stood there though, waiting. If they tried, she couldn't let them pass, as she had a kunai in her hand, holding on to it rather tight. She would not let them pass outside. Sasuke ducked under a brutal kick before slamming his heel right into the bandit's leg. There was a snapping sound as the man dropped to his knees crying. Sesame on the other hand, her Sharingan is activated. Her one told him spin as she ducked under several slices. Twisting her body, she flipped as she knocked 3 of them in the back of the head, knocking them out. As she landed on her feet, Sasuke looked over towards her as she nodded as they entered back into the fray. They weren't gonna die here, none of them were. Meanwhile, he was panting. Shisui looked around as he was panting. The entire area was destroyed, as blood was leaking from one of his eyes. He had to flop out of his sano. He had drilled right through Orochimaru, but yet, the man had crawled out of his own mouth and survived. He couldn't use genjutsus on Kisame because Samehata kept on unleashing the chakra of the genjutsus out of the Kisame system, and Orochimaru was staying far away from him. He had to do it. 10 years. That was how long his technique take to reform. The ultimate genjutsu, the Kodomatsu Kami. 10 years. He knew that he would have to use it in a dire situation, but no was more dire than anything else. After all, facing off against 3 extra criminals wasn't anything easy. He had cuts later in his body from that blade. Samehata kept on scratching him all over. His left arm was burned badly from a fireball jutsu from Orochimaru, and the two seemed to be unfazed because Samehata could heal Kisame wounds and Orochimaru could just regurgitate himself. So this was bad. Really bad, and he had to get back to the others quickly. Meanwhile, Yamato was sent sailing. It appeared out of nowhere. Something stabbed through the man's stomach as Yamato coughed up blood. The man then vanished once again, a swirling mass. That was the last thing Yamato saw, as the man was nowhere to be seen. Yamato had taken care of all of the bandits. They weren't that hard to take care of. As he was heading over, he was caught in a fury of attacks from this masked man that came out of nowhere. No matter what he did, the man phased right through his abilities, and the man stabbed him right in the stomach. Yamato grabbed the hilt of the tonto as he started to pull it out. He had to make it, he had to be on time. Meanwhile, as all of the bandits were taken care of, The summoning animals were still there. Well, it's over, said Naruto. Yeah, said Mito. As her eyes went wide, chains shot from her hands as they grabbed Naruto and yanked him forward as a hand passed where Naruto was. As Menma moved forward along with Mito and Sesame and Sasuke. Who the hell are you? Sasuke asked as he looked at the masked man. Surprise. Didn't think I had to put in this much effort for a couple of brats. The man vanished once again. It was in an instant as he appeared behind Mito and grabbed her by the back of the neck. A brutal slam as he slammed her face first right into the side of the house, breaking it. As it sliced Mito and forward as blood started to run down her face. Mito felt dizzy. I suggest none of you move, he says. He placed a kunai right at her throat as Naruto and Menma pause. Now, tell me, which one of you contained the 9 tails? As Naruto looked towards Menma, Mito looked up as she looked towards Naruto with a stern look. As the man pressed the kunai closer. Stop it, said Sesame, as her Sharingan flared. Quite feisty. But the masked man locked eyes with her as Sesame collapsed down to the ground, as his genjutsu was far better than hers. Sasuke pulled out his kunai as the masked man locked eyes with him as well, as Sasuke collapsed, unable to counter the man genjutsu. I am, said Naruto, stop this! I'm the 9 tails Jinchuriki. No, he's not. I have the power as well. But which one of you has the most? 3 of you. So it couldn't be equal, said the masked man. I do, said Naruto. As he looked towards Menma, who grabbed onto his shoulder, Naruto pushed Menma out of the way. As Menma fell down to the ground, let go of her. I am the one that you want. Release her, Naruto said. Well, seems like you're all our own special, said the masked man. Having those eyes, I thought they were a myth, but it seems that they're real. Not to mention having the 9 tails inside of you. What I need. Well, not now. But you will be coming with me. Come here, or she dies. Naruto, Menma said, as Naruto's hand was behind him, as he was motioning for Menma to look. As Menma saw it, as Mito was slowly reaching into her pocket, the masked man noticed that as he grabbed her wrist. What do we have here? As he pulled out the kunai that she was holding onto. A 3-pronged kunai. Trying to contact your father, he said. He grabbed her as he put the kunai at her throat even more. Please know the 3-pronged kunai. Is there any more? He asked. No, said Menma. Mito cried as the man sank the kunai into her neck, slowly drawing more blood. Stop it, said Naruto. There isn't any more. That's the only one, said Naruto. Are you telling me the truth? I will hate to have to do something that neither of us wants. I hope you're telling me the truth, Naruto, because if you're not, I'm gonna have to kill your poor little sister here. He's telling the truth. That's the only one, said Mito. Let us go, she said. I'm sorry, but I can't. You're still needed, he said. Now, come here, he says. He looked towards Naruto. You. He looked towards Menma. You're coming as well. Meanwhile, Shizu was panting as he looked around. As he couldn't see any of his opponents, they were going out of their way to hide away from him. They knew about his abilities. They knew that in the dire situation that he might do it. Yes, they were going out of their way to do it. As he looked around, trying to find them, but he could not. That is when a swirling vortex opened up. As Shizu's eyes went wide when he saw the masked man holding a kunai at Mito's throat. You. Not a step further, said the masked man, unless you want her poor little throat to be slashed. And I suggest you don't try that ability of yours. The Kodomasukami. Powerful indeed. But my 2 associates also have 2 others as well. The other 2 brats. And as you can see, we're being watched as a snake was over to the side watching him. Your ability won't help you here. What do you want, Shizu said. Well, unless you want all of them to die. Seeing that I take care of the other, Jonin Sensei as well. Shizu clenched his fists. You're gonna stay there, and I'm gonna remove those eyes of yours. Fair deal, isn't it? Or do you prefer all of the kids to die? Shizu, no, be quiet, the masked man said towards Mito, as he held the kunai closer to her throat. What guarantee do I have that you will let them go? Well, we aren't here after them. You are the main goal. So what do you prefer? And do not forget, the other two Uchihas, the daughter and the son of the head of the Uchiha clan, is also over there as well. And they can be picked off at any moment notice. So what do you say, She-Swift Teleporter? Will you hand over your eyes? Or do all of the kids have to die? Fine, said Chisui. I'll give you my eyes, as long as you leave the kids alone. Smart move. As Orochimaru appear in the clearing, don't worry, the other two are fine with Kisame. Meanwhile, as Kisame had Samehata resting on both Naruto and Menma, siphoning off their chakra so they couldn't do anything. But they had so much, I must say. You two have surprisingly large amount of chakras like Kisame. It was then that he heard a roar. He had to spin around as he slammed Samehata forward, as the claws on the tiger's feet clashed against Samehata's scales. Kisame jumped back as he was then attacked by a giant monkey, the fist smashed in the ground where he was, destroyed as he was attacked by a blast of water from the toad as well. As Naruto looked over towards Menma, who was getting to his feet. As Naruto picked himself up, we have to find Mito. As both of them felt woozy, as Samehata had siphoned a lot of their chakra off, a really large amount, but they had to find Mito no matter what, they had to. As they quickly made their way as fast as possible, as the summoning animals went after Kisame. As they made their way towards the scene, where they saw Shisui just standing there and Orochimaru approaching him, the masked man head snapped towards them. As Shisui looked over as he reached, a swirling vortex opened up right in front of Naruto and Menma, as kunais came pelting out. As the masked man was hoping that this would happen, Shisui's foot turned as he dashed forward. Naruto's eyes went wide as he brought up a massive ice wall, but it wasn't what he was expecting, as Kisame had drained almost all of their chakra. So the kunais just broke right through it. As Naruto moved in front of Menma to take the full brunt of the attack. Menma's eyes went wide, but it was too late. As Naruto felt no pain, he opened his eyes as he saw Shisui in front of him. The man had a broken tanto in his hand, which he used to deflect as much as possible, but the rest of them impaled him badly. As he dropped to his knees, already low on chakra from the fight earlier. Run, he said. Mito saw the opportunity as the masked man moved the kunai away from her throat a bit. Chains exploded from her body. She used the opportunity to move forward as she saw both of her brothers are sweating badly, like they were exhausted, as Kisame turned to stop Yamato from joining as Orochimaru watched everything unfold in front of him. The man seemed to have his own agenda, like the Akatsuki didn't mean much to him. The masked man snarled at that as Mito picked up Shisui with one of her chains, as she quickly ran off over to the side, dragging both of her brothers along as well. As Naruto cursed for his mouth bulged, he blew steam out of his mouth, acidic steam. The three snakes that tried to grab him were melted down to nothingness. Mito then stopped. As Naruto looked in front of him, Menma's eyes went wide. I warned you, girl, but you did not listen. As Naruto saw the sword protruding from Mito's back, blood dripping from it. As Naruto looked towards the masked man, who had the sword through Mito. As Mito's grip released itself on Naruto and Menma, the chains retracted as Shisui dropped to the ground. As he was bleeding badly, he was in a really bad state. As Naruto's eyes widened, so did Menma as Mito fall. It was like slow motion as time seemed to slow down. As Naruto could not understand, how did this happen? The man was over there a second ago. His technique, he could cover the time in seconds. As Mito's eyes were wide as she dropped, blood come from her mouth, the sword had pierced directly through her heart. As Naruto and Menma rushed over, as Naruto grabbed Mito, no, he said. As Menma didn't know what to do, his hand moving towards the sword but stopping. As the blood was oozing out of her, they knew how to apply first aid, but they didn't know that depth into medical ninjutsu. As Naruto went through hand sign and so did Menma. As they placed their hand forward, they started to glow green, just the first form of medical ninjutsu. As they tried their best, but they were too low on chakra, so they started to tap into something different. As the chakra on their hands started to turn red, Mito winced as they started to burn her. It was making it worse as they stopped. "Stay with us," said Naruto. We'll get you to somewhere." As he tried to move her, but she winced even more as blood came from her mouth. "Mito," said Naruto. She tried to speak, but only a gargle came out as Naruto couldn't hear what she was saying. "Mito," he said. "Mito," he cried as Minma stood there shaking, unable to do anything or unable to react as his body would not let him. "Mito," said Naruto as he would not respond to him. He didn't know what to do as he looked towards the sword. Should he pull it out? But he watched as Mito gasp one final breath. Even with severe wounds, even a Jinchuriki could die. And given that Mito only had 25% of a chakra that was currently sealed away tightly, it wouldn't do much good seeing that she got directly stabbed through the heart, one of the most important organs in the body. As Mito died, as Naruto couldn't believe it, she wasn't responding. He didn't hear anything. The world itself seemed to have gone blank. As the masked man took Shisui's body, he had just sucked it away. As Naruto stood there, he watched as Yamato was being dragged on the ground as he was tossed at their feet. He was still breathing, but he was unconscious, as Kisame was the one that tossed him, with a smirk on his face. "Well, it's over now, and we have them. What should we do?" The masked man reached into his pocket as he dropped something towards the ground. The broken remains of the Harushin kunai that Mito had. "Always too late," he said, as Minma picked himself up. As his eyes were turning red, Kisame moved forward and slammed Samihata in his chest. As the boy staggered back, he dropped down to the ground as the chakra had been siphoned away from him. As Naruto brought his hand up before taking a breath, he was assaulted by snakes who pinned him down and bit into him. As a toxin started to go through his system. "You're too weak to even fight in the first place," Orochimaru said. "But your eyes, truly magnificent. I can't even imagine what you would do if you were able to master these abilities." "He's not to be harmed," said the masked man. "It turns out that he has the most inside of him." Suddenly, Mito's body started to turn red as chakra oozed out of her as it slammed into Naruto, being the one in the fox's mind. The power returned back to the fox, as his mind, his consciousness was inside of Naruto after all. Mito's 25% of chakra flew into Naruto as Naruto started writhing agony on the ground. The snakes were evaporated off of him. Meanwhile, "I found it," Sasuke said as he pulled the kunai. Naruto and Minma both brought kunais with them as well, but they had them in their backpacks. The clone that Yamato left with them had broke apart as the man had freed them from the genjutsu. It just broke apart in Sesame. Wonder if Mito had a kunai, perhaps they has as well. Mito had took her kunai out of her bag when she realized that they were attacked out of the sudden by Zabuza. So she bring it with her just in case anything happened that they couldn't handle and they had to call their father. But Minma and Naruto kept it in her pack as they did not bring it with them. That was their mistake. In that instant, Sasuke threw it and nothing happened in a few seconds. But then it happened. As a bright flash, Minato stood in front of him. "Sasuke? Sesame? What happened? What's going on?" he asked. As Sesame looked at the man, the worried look on her face. Moments later, Orochimaru stepped away as a violent, toxic chakra of Naruto started to leak. He dropped on all fours as he started to growl towards them, as a tail emerged behind him. Kisame stepped forward as Minma started to twitch, as Naruto's reaction was also pulling up the chakra that was inside of him, as he was changing, as his fangs elongate, as Minma's eyes snapped open, filled with rage and anger. Kisame smirked as he brought Samihata up, but then a kunai landed at his feet. He brought Samihata in front of him, as his face was sliced badly, a nasty gash across his face. Not even Samihata was fast enough to come up, as Minato ripped the three-pronged kunai across the man's face. The masked man instantly jumped back, and so did Orochimaru. A brutal kick inside of Kisame's stomach, he was launched backwards. The masked man used the opportunity as Minato turned towards his kids. His eyes widened when he saw Mito just lying there. No movement at all. as the masked man quickly used the opportunity to suck away the others in a swirling vortex gone. Not wasting time here, after all, Yellow Flash had arrived. Boys, calm down, said Minato, but they growled at him with frustration and rage in their eyes. As they lashed out towards him, Minato jumped back as he pulled out a scroll, unsealed a brush and an ink, as he went on fast movements. It happened in a second, as Minato finished his work and placed a seal on their forehead. Both boys dropped down, as the Kyuubi's chakra returned back to their seal, as they fell unconscious. Minato moved forward towards Mito. The man froze when he noticed the hole in her chest. She was really not moving. As he dropped towards his knees, he couldn't understand. This was just supposed to be a simple C-rank mission. And his daughter. Tears welled up in the man's eyes as the man stood there frozen. As he looked over to see Yamato unconscious in a poorly beaten state and Shisui was nowhere to be seen. Time skip. As Naruto stood on top of the monument, looking down towards the village. It has been a week. A week since everything happened. A week when he was too weak to even defend his sister. To protect anyone. What's the point of having all these abilities if you can't use them to protect the ones you love? He knew those guys were S-rank, but still, his mother cried for days. His grandmother was there to make sure that she could go through it without feeling too much stress, even though that was impossible. But she was pregnant, and she had to worry about the other baby in her stomach. But still, Mito was gone. His sister was gone, and she was not coming back. Because he was too weak to protect her. He was too weak to do anything much. His father and JJ told him that it wasn't his fault. Things were out of control and out of his hands. There was a funeral for Shisui, even though there wasn't a body. And his sister, body was buried. Something was wrong with him. Yes, something had to be wrong with him, because he could not cry. Why couldn't he cry? Perhaps his body was just in a mode where it repairs things, because he could not cry. Minma couldn't cry either. It was weird. Why? Was it because he saw what happened? As he stood there unmoving, there hasn't been any missions for the past week. After such an event, they said they shouldn't be going on any missions. But being here, thinking, it has brought back so many memories. Memories of the fun time when Mito used to be there with him, where they used to play pranks on Minma, but now she was not here. Why did the world have to be so cruel? To take away the one that he loved. Missing names, enemy ninjas. As Naruto clenched his fists, his ancestor, leader of the Uzumaki, was able to take on hundreds of ninjas, not to mention Jinchurikis, and defeat them all to protect his home. But in the end, he still lost. He still loses people. His mother lost her clan because of this world, this corrupted, chaotic world. For the past week, there hasn't been a smile on anyone's face. No joke, nothing. It has just been sadness. His mother was trying her best, but even she was hurting, and he knew that. She was trying her best to make them feel better, but he didn't want to feel better. He wanted to feel miserable, because he was angry at himself. He wasn't able to do much. He knew those guys were S-rank, but still, he had all this goddamn power as he slammed his hand on top of the monument. As a small part of it froze. They didn't even complete their first C-rank mission. He didn't even know what happened. His father had brought them home. Anvus had went out towards Land of Sea, but nothing had been found. He didn't know what happened after that. He barely said 10 words over the past week. His mother was trying her best, but he just didn't see the reason of talking. It was hard. As he sat there by himself, he then heard footsteps as Menma came and sat down beside him. Menma said nothing as he looked over towards the village. Both boys not saying a single word. I can't go on like this, said Menma. I need to find those guys. They need to pay for what they did. They need to suffer. They need to die. Menma, the usual stoic one, even he has changed. But Naruto has changed even worse. The one who was always joking, always smiling, no longer joke or smile. You could tell that something was terribly wrong. Yeah, they do, said Naruto. But not just them. All of our enemies. Because if we don't stop them all, what is stopping them from coming after Mom? Our soon-to-be brother or sister? Who's gonna stop them? Said Naruto. Why should they live? Why should our enemies live? Naruto asks. All of them that hate us. They hid the stone because our father massacred their people in the Third Great Shinobi War. Why should they live? Just to come after us and kill us another day. Menma got to his feet as he looked over the village. You're right. Why should any of them live if they could harm our family? As he looked out, Mito died, and we weren't able to protect her. We've been training for so long and so hard, yet on the battlefield, on a real dangerous mission, we couldn't do much because we're a small, naive child who didn't fully understand the world, said Naruto. This twisted, corrupted world. I don't even know if we do right now, but still, they all deserve to die. All of our enemies, all of our foes, because if we don't stop them, they will hurt and take away the ones that we love. This world needs to change, said Menma. Yeah, said Naruto. And if no one else is gonna do it, I'm gonna do it myself. You're not alone, said Menma. And you're right. It indeed needs to change. And we'll do it together. For Mito's sake, he said. As he looked towards Naruto. Come on. We need to train. We need to get stronger. We need to stop wasting time. And from there, things changed for the two boys. Their whole demeanor, their whole outlook on life was gonna change at that for a moment. Everything was gonna change. The world itself. But you guys will have to stay in tune to find out more, because this is where I end this episode, guys. Which I do hope that you guys will enjoy. So yeah, go ahead and check it out and enjoy, guys. I'm gonna be posting a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was the Neglected Uzumaki over an Anime King, so stay tuned for that, guys. I hope you do enjoy this episode, and if you do, tell me and I'll be posting next part as soon as possible for you guys to enjoy. So get this one to 100 likes, and yeah guys, without further ado, I'm all for now. See you guys soon. Peace.